The stock market is hitting record highs. Job numbers are good. Inflation is falling, and the Federal Reserve might be cutting interest rates. Also, consumer happiness is rising, according to all those consumer happiness surveys. It's ticking upward. It looks like the U.S. economy might be able to avoid a recession, according to a recent survey of economists. Not even a soft landing. What do you think what's going on? Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen was touting soft landing weeks ago and said, "My hope is it will continue." I guess we're continuing to soft land, if at all. What is your take on all the good news?
What strikes me is, more so than all the good news, which is exceptional, is the consumer dissonance or the citizen dissonance. And that is, Americans have a unique ability to credit their character and their grit for the raise they're getting, and then blame the government for inflation. And so even though the wages are rising faster than inflation, now there's real wage increases, they still blame the government. It's just this quandary. It must be driving.
It's ticking up. That Michigan survey just suddenly went the other direction.
I hope so.
Yeah.
But it's just very strange. The White House doesn't get any credit for it.
Yeah, it's starting to.
I hope you're right. But this goes to my win. We literally have, now granted it's not distributed equally, we have, no one could have predicted, if someone had said America is going to pull off this economy, or they're going to figure out a way to have the lowest inflation in the G7. By the way, they're going to massively increase, for all the shitposting and all the far right likes to say, drill, baby, drill. We're producing more energy than ever. We're the largest energy producer in the world. And if you look at our competitive advantage against China, if China decides to get into a hot war with anyone, and they start and at any number of choke points, their energy supply gets
they're going to have
shut
to
down.
invade Russia. They're going to have to invade Russia.
They would be in such a world of hurt, and we're energy independent. We're not only energy independent, we produce more energy than we consume, which is remarkable given what gluttons we are. So it's just striking that consumers don't feel better. It's getting better. But
it's ticking up. It's absolutely ticking up. I think people still feel they're paying too much for food or the daily. But although I went and got gas and I was like, oh, this is low. This is like, I guess I'm one of those people who doesn't think about it that much compared to people who have a really tighter budget. But I was like, wow, this is not expensive for the first time in a while. And I paid attention to like the $4 and $5 gas. Employers added 216,000 jobs in December, which is a larger than expected number. Weekly jobless claims reported were the lowest since September of 2022. There's a lot of layoffs in a number of sectors, but I think that's people cleaning up, like all this stuff in tech. Looks like it's around assistant, which AI. They're getting ready for AI and getting rid of stuff they don't need anymore. So that seems to be cleanup, right, of where things are going or getting ready for something else. So if someone, two things. If you were looking to invest right now, what advice would you give them? And then I want to ask you a quick question about the housing market.
Where would I invest?
Yeah.
Look, my feeling is it's dangerous to listen to people like me and talking heads on podcasts make stock recommendations. And I like it because it's fun, and I tell young people, take a third of your money and put it in stocks because, A, you learn about the markets, and also it's kind of fun, and you can feel good when it goes up and beat yourself up a little bit when it goes down. But for the most part, what you want to do, if this market has taught us anything, don't try and pick the needle in the haystack, pick the whole haystack and buy the whole market, because
haystack approach. Go ahead.
It's true. Unless you were a genius, and maybe you didn't have to be a genius, but people talk about their wins and they don't talk about their losses. 7 stocks were responsible for 70% of the gain last year, and you think you're smart enough to pick the 7 of the 500? So instead, just buy the entire 500, and what do you know? What were you up in the teens last year? If you do that, if you compound going into your prime income earning years, what the market has done since 2008 at 11%, that means every 7 years you're doubling your money. And just from an emotional and mental well-being, this is what you want to do. You want to focus all of your mental, physical, and emotional energy on your day job. And you want to turn your investing over to an outstanding professional that is really good at what they do, but at the same time is really inexpensive. And that's called an index and an ETF fund. So if you could get someone, you're not good at building your own home. What if you could find someone to build your home that was outstanding at building homes and was really cheap? That's called an index or an ETF fund. Don't buy a stock, buy the market. And the temptation to believe that you're smarter than everybody And all of these, the financial industrial complex, which will teach you that this old-looking guy or all these quant people and PhDs have some sort of special insight, or they're investing in ESG, whatever it might be, whatever the branding is, they are ripping you off.
Yeah.
They are ripping you off. So anyways, my recommendation on where to invest is just start investing and invest in index or ETF funds. SPY, S&P.
The economy, the housing market is still kind of all over the place because of the interest rate, and the 30-year interest rate is at 6.6%, higher than before the pandemic, obviously. Home prices are higher, but that's because I'm just talking to a friend of mine who's a very big realtor in D.C., and she was saying there just isn't stock. It's in the middle area. She goes, in the top area and the cheaper area, it's doing okay. But there's no stock to sell. She said she didn't think people were as fixated on rates as they were. They don't want to move because of that, and that's one of the issues is not having enough in the market to move it around. And she was thinking it was going to jump in the spring. She felt like people were just like, I'm tired of waiting, kind of thing, or to move or to buy. But that's one area that's been sort of a laggard.
Yeah, one of my predictions for my 2024 deck is that housing is going to boom, not price. I mean, what happened last year were sort of suspended, that you had to suspend the natural order, and yet housing prices went up. You never see that, because what we unintentionally did was created these unexploded devices inside a home called a mortgage at 2.5% where no one wanted to leave. That life is aggregating at the dam. What I mean by that: death, divorce, disability, people having kids, people needing to move for a job, whatever it might be. All of that demand is building. And the moment I think interest rates get kind of below 6-ish, the moment that people start dying and more housing stock comes available, the moment that some of the supply that's being constructed comes on the line, I think in Q4 you had the lowest transaction in like decades.
That's what she was saying, yeah. She said it's right in the middle. She said it's not at the high, it's not at the low. You know what I mean? Like the apartments and things like that. But go ahead.
I think you're going to see back half of this year just a ton of people, I don't want to say throw in the towel, but go, okay, interest rates are below. Maybe I can pick up a mortgage with a 5 handle on it. We've been talking about moving home. We just had our third kid. Oh, did you hear the house down the street? Mrs. Robinson just died. There's a house. I just think that all of that, life doesn't stop marching on.
Yeah.
And when you think about housing, the biggest component in housing are life events, and those have not stopped the last year. They're just building up. So I think the finger out of the dike.
Which is why prices are higher.
Are higher, yeah. But you're seeing wages go up. You're seeing interest rates come down, and life continues to march on. I think we're going to see an absolute boom in sales volume.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if the economy helps Biden. I think it may be perfect timing for him. I'll tell you that. We'll see.